Could everyone casually shut the fuck up?
Everybody, welcome to Downballot. We do the show live every Tuesday, 7:30 p.m. Pacific, right here on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/Echoplex Media. You can support this project, echoplexmedia.com. Click the support tab and pick your favorite. I'm producer Dave, and I can be found on Grindr.
What's up, everybody? This is the Councilman. You can find me on X at @THE_Councilman. You could also find me up in the overflow room at City Council because apparently they decided that only half the seats were needed in the council chambers this last week because they had some hot button subjects coming up. So they put everyone into the overflow room. So they were all watching on TV, and then they got called in one at a time to speak. It was very classy, very classy.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, they even put shoddy makeshift blue tarps over the seats that weren't being used. Like they basically blocked off every other row and limited seating in the actual chambers. This is something they did during COVID for social distancing when they were just coming back, but certainly not since then, and really no rhyme or reason to it other than the fact that there was a whole shit ton of folks showing up to ask them to pass a ceasefire resolution, which was not on the agenda.
And
So,
when we, like, during the public comment, we watched Cobb County waste a bunch of time on this, and like the jokes in the chat were pretty dark. People in the chat were like, oh, the Cobb County Board of Supervisors did not come to a resolution. The conflict rages on, or whatever. And it's like, dude, like, I mean,
Right.
I understand that, people, want their city representatives to be on the right side of stuff, but it's a waste of time. It really is. It's a waste of the city or the county's time. If you're interested in what your representative thinks about global affairs, you could reach out to them and ask. They would probably be happy to give you answers on some stuff.
100%. More than likely, they've issued a statement of some sort, one way or the other, or trying to find some sort of middle ground. So yeah, reach out to your representatives, find out where they stand, and if you don't like it, then you can vote against them next time around. But yeah, don't waste my time, and don't waste the city council's time. Don't waste the city's dollar. The city of San Jose especially has very limited time and very limited dollars to spend, and they really can't waste time on things that they can't really affect. I'm sure that Prime Minister Netanyahu, as soon as he heard that San Jose passed a resolution calling for a ceasefire, he was just going to pull all the troops right away. That's exactly what was going to happen. So,
but on the flip side of this, you can contact the person who's your representative in the House or your senators, because those people do vote on America's foreign policy, and you should. If you don't like America's foreign policy, you should contact them, especially if they voted a way that you think doesn't represent their constituents. You can be like, hey, I'm this person, and I think you should vote this way on these issues. But your local city council and your county board of supervisors, even like in New York City, where they probably have a bigger army than fucking most people, most countries, even they can't do anything about it. So just keep in mind that that your city and county representatives are there to do a job, and maybe don't be like Shasta. Don't be like, because that's some Shasta County crap, right? Both the people coming in and talking about stuff the board has no purview over, and then the board reacting in what I think is a fairly immature way by covering the seats in tarps.
Yeah. So know your audience. Very good point about the federal office, and we'll come to that a little bit later in terms of who your congressperson is. Much of the South Bay and Silicon Valley gets to choose who their congressperson is now for the first time in 30 odd years. So good on you. But shall we get to the docket?
We shall. Did you know that when big events come to cities, it's usually not great for the small and medium-sized businesses that are near the big event, especially if the event is a high security event like APEC was.
I had heard that. I think it was like on local news somewhere, but maybe this clip will have something about that.
Also, just don't let them build a fucking stadium in your town either, but that's a whole other matter.
There's a whole other down ballot about that.
Yeah. So this is it appears to be a lot of businesses in like a mall type area. I think it's in the Metreon itself, where a lot of these businesses, they were like, oh, this is going to be great. You're going to make all this money. And then like nobody could get there. And like the people at APEC weren't going to go, shopping at the little boba tea place or whatever. A lot of the events there were catered and whatnot. So let's see what the local business owners have to say about this. Usually we don't like the local business owners because they're complaining about the city, but in this case they have a legitimate beef. And maybe one of these places has legitimate beef. Who knows?
Or pork.
At businesses in San Francisco who are suffering more than any other city in the country.
Bring at least 90% of the employees back.
Absolutely, we need to be coming back 5 days a week.
Struggling small businesses, shuttered stores, and even more could close in downtown San Francisco if there is not some change. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. I'm Larry Beal.
And I'm Kristen Z. Part of building a better Bay Area includes supporting small businesses. Downtown San Francisco is struggling. Since COVID hit in 2020, a large number of businesses have closed. Many studies say as many as 50%.
Now, there were hopes that APEC would help, but many small businesses said that only hurt them more, and now those small business owners say they do have a solution. ABC 7 News reporter Leanne Melendez here now with more on what they are saying and asking for.
Well, in their minds, the solution is for people to come back to work full-time, 5 days a week in person. Because, you know, small businesses say for them, the hybrid situation where people work from home on some days and come to work in person on other days isn't cutting it. You know, they claim that City Hall hasn't done enough to push the private sector to come back. And as we found out, the largest employer in this city still has a hybrid policy.
This could well be the epicenter of San Francisco's doom loop, Folsom and 2nd Street south of Market. Don't take it from me. Ask Jeff Handy, owner of Social 303 restaurant in the shadow of this once booming neighborhood.
This building that I'm standing in front of used to have 4,000 people in it. There's 400. So you're looking at businesses in San Francisco who are suffering more than any other city in the country.
Bringing those people back into the office more than 2 to 3 days a week has been a challenge for the city, regardless of what the mayor has said in the past.
Who doesn't?
Well, hold on. This isn't the city's decision, right?
I mean, not necessarily. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know that the city can force the issue anyway. Unless they make it like a condition of business permitting or something like that. But I don't know that that's legal or constitutional.
Doesn't want to go meet with their coworkers after work and have a drink and let the traffic die down.
Apparently.
Well, that's the thing is if you got to work from home today, you could just walk down the street to your local pub and meet people that you don't work with.
Of people who live or work in San Francisco.
Return to work policies were not as heavily endorsed in San Francisco, so that hurt all of us, and it continues to.
The Oasis Grill next to the Embarcadero Center is a classic example. Since COVID, they have not recovered and find that the private sector has little interest in supporting small businesses.
Oh my God, those wraps look amazing.
The downtown recovery is achievable if people come back into the offices.
To bring at least 90% of the employees back. Because
How do you do that?
I don't know, this is maybe the mayor should do that, the government.
We asked a government official how the city plans to bring back the workforce more often than just a few days.
We are exponentially impacted by the amount of tech and public service businesses that have chosen to remain remote. And so at the end of the day...
But the city, hold on a minute, the city also has employees still working from home.
They do have the ability to stay home 2 days a week. And again, that is the decision of the mayor, ultimately the mayor.
Should that change?
I think we are in a place right now where we can go to flex schedules. We can allow people to do not necessarily 9 to 5 in some areas, but absolutely we need to be coming back 5 days a week.
Next stop, the mayor.
Will you ask city employees to come back to work 5 days a week?
So to be clear, most of our 34,000 city employees are back at work. Most of them, but I think UC City Hall is pretty much at capacity and other city buildings. Many of the folks who are maybe not at work are a lot of our technical support, but it's more than I think the latest number, and maybe I should get the latest number to give it to you, but it's a really high percentage.
City Hall eventually got back to us to report that approximately 3/4 of city staff is working in person full time.
Since the pandemic, things have changed. And do I want everyone at work all the time? Yes, I do.
To make matters worse for these small businesses, APEC didn't deliver the kind of boom they anticipated for a number of reasons. First, there was the security zone imposed by the Secret Service.
As APEC started to step in, we anticipated a 3-day heavy closure with a little setup. It was much larger than expected. As we can all know, it really became a 10-day shutdown for the entire neighborhood.
Secondly, people were told to work from home to avoid the traffic jams and the protesters.
From Fisherman's Wharf to downtown, to Union Square, to Japantown, there's no question it was quieter throughout the city. People did heed the warning.
According to the Yerba Buena Community Benefit Center, the average revenue for small businesses near Moscone Center was down by more than 64%. Now, many of these affected businesses are hoping the city keeps its promise of compensating them for their losses.
Now, a reminder that a resolution was passed to set aside $10 million in the event that there would be heavy losses. And as we now know, that certainly happened. And bringing people back 4 to 5 days, they say, well, that's more sandwiches that we can sell, more coffees. So they're really relying on that. But, the city officials have told me that their fear is that if they really force city employees to come back 5 days a week, and many are, but if they force them, then they're going to lose them to the private sector.
That could be. They're competing interests here. That's why it's so tough.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, it's going to be hard to force.
Yeah, the city's going to have a hard time recruiting if you don't have like flex time.
Oh, very much so. Cities and public agencies already have a hard time in general recruiting. The pension is a nice thing, but it really only matters if you're going to be there for 20, 30 years, and no one's really looking at that kind of career anymore. So the public sector doesn't have as much to offer anymore. The stress level is higher, the load is higher, and you're making probably as much as you could make in the private sector and not getting as many perks. So yeah, this is not going to help anything. But yeah, I also don't see how, outside of your employees, right, like the city employees, I can see how they could force the issue there. In some public works and a lot of city departments, you kind of have to be there 5 days a week anyway, on hand, on the job. But in the private sector and other areas, it's different. And I don't see how a city and the mayor or any government can force the issue here, other than incentivizing it somehow. They can't penalize it. They can't make it punitive. They can only make it some sort of incentive to businesses to offer 5-day work weeks again, or to incentives for employees who want to come back, right? God knows what those are. But again, this is the small business owners in there just saying like the mayor should do something, the government should do something. There's a severe misperception and misconception about what government is and can and can't do. We found that in the last story, right? And we found it here again. I think people just really don't have an understanding of the limitations of and the function of government. So it's not this, unfortunately. Fortunately or unfortunately, it's not to regulate private businesses.
And it may just be that the amount of restaurants that were around to support these businesses was unsustainable long term, with or without COVID.
Very much so. I misspoke there. I shouldn't say that they're not here to regulate private businesses. Of course, they regulate them, right, for fair wages and workers' policies and protections, and many other things. But I don't know how they can mandate this, right? Like the business is going to be free to define sort of what their work week is, and it's really up to the employee at some point, and the employer, and unless they're fundamentally going up against labor law or committing wage theft or anything like that, there's really not much government can do.
And like, what if more people are just brown bagging it anyway? Because they like, while you were stuck at home, maybe people learned how to make quick little meals and stuff for themselves too. So there may be some of that going on too. The people that are going back are like, wait, I don't have to go out to eat every day.
I got HelloFresh, bitch.
Or I just made a bunch of chicken and rice at the beginning of the week, and it's in Tupperware, and I just throw one of those in my backpack. Don't cook fish at work.
Definitely not in the microwave in the cubicles. Ew. Ew, folks. Ew, don't do it.
But there's also it's not just that people are working from home. There's just a lot of layoffs at some of these tech firms as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like people in the Mission, like Twitter is at 15% of what it used to be at. So I'm assuming the businesses around there, even though Apartheid Clyde's making all those people come to work every day, there's still like not as many of them. So the businesses around there are suffering from that, because that's 10,000 down to like what, 12 to 1,600. I forget what the number is.
Mm-hmm.
But there's the restaurant. The other thing is the restaurant business is just hard. Like you are the most likely to go out of business any given year as a restaurant, no matter, if it's your first year, it's more, but you're still just very likely to run into problems as a restaurant. Any number of reasons, lots of government regulation on restaurants, which is a good thing. Actually, we should be regulating the food that people eat. But overhead
regulation. You
got to buy the food. You waste a lot of food because you don't want to run out of things. There's just a lot of problems with running a restaurant. It's a very rough, difficult business, and so that's sort of in the background of all of this anyway.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of these businesses were struggling to begin with. COVID certainly didn't help anything, but maybe it also exposed, conditions and concerns and issues within the industry that have been neglected for too long, and now we're finding out the hard truths. But yeah, no, running a restaurant has very limited profit margins. You do it because you love it, not because you're trying to get rich. Not everyone's going to be freaking Bobby Flay. So yeah, you do it because you love it, and you don't make a lot of money doing it. I have family who did it, and they got out after a while. It was just too much. 50 years and couldn't hack it anymore. Yeah, I think we need to rethink our business models, and not necessarily blame the mayor and the board of supervisors or whoever, in your local government.
And it. I mean, we're no fan of Mayor London Breed, but this ain't her.
No, it's not her fault. Not her fault. I mean, other than, all you can fault her for is thinking or talking as though APEC was going to solve problems or be a salve on wounds, and it's not. It's anything but, right? It's the reverse.
Well, and every time we've learned, just look at the Olympics and what it does to cities. Like, everybody's like, oh, we're going to make all this money from the Olympics. No, you're not.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a disaster.
Yeah.
Like, the Olympics are cool. It's good for you. It's like good for, whatever. But don't we shouldn't be thinking that the one conference is going to like, there's just no way. First, again, conferences, there's a lot of catering going on at conferences.
Mm-hmm.
You could never leave the conference hall and probably eat pretty well and not have to fucking pay for it.
Oh yeah, very much so. You don't have to leave the conference grounds at all. That's really what they try to get you to do, really, is just to stay there the whole time and stay in their controlled, captive environment the whole time. So yeah, that's the point. It's not to go out and see the city or see I mean, I've been to conventions, so many times, and rarely, if ever, do we actually get out and see the town. Outside of like a small area within the conference or the convention, sort of,
if there's a restaurant in the hotel, that restaurant probably does pretty good.
Oh, it's hot. It's hopping. It's absolutely hopping. And there's, usually there's like a little maybe strip downtown right outside, like the gas lamp in San Diego, for example, right, where you can go out and do anything. But it's, again, you're all self-contained in one little space with everyone. So,
I just remember I've gone to, I can't imagine when FurCon comes to the San Jose Convention Center, I can't imagine the businesses see a bump. Maybe the gay bars. But
seems like there's lots of furries running around, but I don't know what they're doing.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. And at Netroots Nation, I don't know if a lot of the businesses, I mean, due to me taking everybody on a tour, maybe, but that's just 55 South, Splash and Max that saw a bump from that, because I didn't want to take anybody anywhere fucking else. Yeah, it's a mess. These big events don't really help these cities. They oftentimes, like happened here, hurt the local businesses, not just in lost revenue, but just, well, no, it's just lost revenue. Especially, what if you staff up because you were told that this is going to be that it's going to be hella busy around there, and then it isn't. Now it's not just that you didn't make the original amount of money you were going to make, but now you paid extra money to staff up, bought extra food, maybe did marketing, tried to market, spend money on marketing it for the convention. There's all kinds of stuff that you might do if you're told that there's going to be there's a likely bump and that you have to, try to get these customers, and then they don't go because there's catering. Catering, probably a catered breakfast is garbage, but it's free.
Yep. Always going to choose the convenient free options right there.
So we're going to move down. We're going to move on to winners and losers, where if there are any winners, it's really not the fucking person you were rooting for. We got San Francisco business owners are fed up with bike lanes.
Yeah, this is a very series of SF business owner stories. So they're pissed off about this or that or the other thing. So here's this and that.
maybe those businesses that lost all that money during APEC could have marketed to cyclists. I think it'd be pretty easy to navigate through there on a bicycle versus a car, but that's just my opinion. Let's take a look at what's going on here. It's this guy's got a thing that says Open Valencia, but I think his sign here may as well just say "fuck you and yo bike."
Business owners along Valencia Street are saying a pilot bike lane program is killing their businesses.
As KTVU's Christian Kaffner reports, the SFMTA is looking for a solution to keep cyclists safe as well as businesses operating.
San Francisco's Valencia Street is one of the city's major north-south corridors. Now, a year-long pilot program with a bike lane running right down the center of Valencia is underway through August of 2024. But business owners along the stretch with the center bike lane between 15th and 23rd Streets, like Nikki DeWall, who owns Blondie's Bar, say that lane is killing their business.
Over the course of the last 6 months, our business has dropped anywhere between 30 and 50%, depending on what day, which is a huge impact.
Business owners held a rally in the bike lane to call attention.
Fucking now you're like, hey, everybody's blocking the parking spots, and now these motherfuckers are blocking the bike lane.
And other businesses aren't anti-bike, but say that bike lane and the changes it's brought are now impacting all types of businesses along the corridor.
They're all getting the same feedback from their patrons. There's nowhere to park. It's too complicated to figure the streets out.
Even bike lane users say they're not fans of the center lane configuration.
Hell no. It's not very safe because people here just don't really care, and there's always construction over here, and people get hit by cars. And I've seen more car accidents on this street since this middle lane's been here.
SFMTA Director Jeffrey Tumlin says the bike lane is a work in progress and that the SFMTA is committed to finding a balance to keep cyclists safe and businesses healthy.
That's what we're trying to find with this pilot, and we're going to keep making adjustments until we get the dials fine-tuned to create the greatest public good while recognizing that the street is of limited right-of-way and it has a lot of needs.
Organizers of the protest say the problems with the bike lane are symptomatic of deeper problems within the SFMTA and are looking at breaking up the SFMTA and or seeking changes to how the SFMTA is run and leadership is picked. SFMTA's director says the solution to frustration with the bureaucracy isn't to destroy the entire department, but to work with leadership to try to find a way forward. In San Francisco, Christian Kaffner, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
So the cyclist, I kind of agree with the cyclist that putting the bike lane in the middle is actually dangerous.
It is. I don't see how that's the safest solution at all. It's the one that probably has the least impacts to parking, so I can see why it happened. But yeah, it's not safe for cyclists any more than riding on the sidewalk.
So like I ride around a lot, right? And making a left turn, oftentimes I just go straight and then stop and then get going the other way sort of down the street because I don't want to get in that left turn lane. But in this scenario, you have to cross traffic to turn right as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It again doesn't make a lot of sense. I don't see a lot of this. That you see center lanes are for like bus rapid transit, not for bikes. So I don't really understand what's going on here.
I've had a couple scenarios where I had to hop up a curb onto the sidewalk to not. I don't know whether or not I would have been hit by the car, but it seemed like I was about to get hit by the car. And in this scenario, you got nowhere to go. Like if a car veers off into the bike lane, like I guess if the bike lane, the best thing I've seen is the parking. It's like road, and then to the right of the road is the parking, and then to the right of that is the bike lane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's probably the preferred alignment from all parties. But at the end of the day, no matter how it's aligned, there ain't no one going to tell me that this is the reason why your business is going under. Just like with the last story, right? There's, you probably have some fundamental problems with your business model that need to be addressed. If you're losing that much money, because it doesn't look like they're losing that much parking, and it's really like people biking and slow, passing by your store or your business at a slower pace, or with more visibility, that's a bad thing, right? And they're basically saying that cyclists don't have any money. Well, or bicyclists don't have any money.
The other thing, and I think they had mentioned the mission, I think the gentrification and changing demographics of the mission might have something to do with it too, because the Mission's kind of famous for like having entertainment and like divey bars that are like super cool. But now all these people with fucking money moved in there, and they want this like probably want like a more upscale experience, and these dive bars are probably suffering because they're like, that's a dive bar. Whereas before it was like an art district, and the fucking artists love a dive bar. My God. You know,
it just had character, you know, now it's becoming more gentrified, and people, are looking for a different thing. Right. And there's less people looking for your thing. So. Yeah.
And I, you know, as people that maybe move into the area and as it becomes more higher socioeconomic class, I think more people are likely to have a car, and then parking becomes a problem. Whereas, you know, the Mission, and I don't know if I don't hang out in San Francisco as much as I should, I suppose, but for a while, like the Mission was where you could afford to live if you wanted to move to the city, like the Mission and the TL, right? You could kind of afford to go live there. And if you were, you know, like a lower income earner, you wouldn't have a car, but that's fine. It's fucking San Francisco. You probably shouldn't have one there anyway, unless you live out in the avenues, like, you know, like almost in the South City. Okay, well, that makes more sense. But if you're like living in this dense urban center and you're complaining about nowhere to park your car just up the way from your favorite bar, you're going to the wrong bar and you live in the wrong place.
Right. Absolutely.
Come out where I live. There's plenty of parking and nothing to do. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, shit. Wait a minute.
And I don't understand how these businesses are so reliant, especially in an area like the Mission, right? Are so reliant on car traffic and car business. They should be marketed more and focused more on their local community, and providing whatever it is that local community wants. And if that's changing and evolving, then you've got to evolve and change with it. It sucks, but it's how you survive, you know?
I don't know. Like in San Jose, the only bars that seemed to make it as things changed, like not just during the pandemic, but before. Remember, we talked about this before when downtown San Jose was essentially a fucking police state, and the bars that survived were the dive bars. And like Splash, but that's because it's Splash, right? It's a
tours.
It's a gay bar. It's a niche bar. Like people will come from all over because it's a gay bar. And then the dive bar just like 3 doors down from Splash, still cracking. And it's like, and it's because they're suited to the neighborhood. They're serving a niche. And the Caravan, for example, serving a niche, live entertainment, cheap drinks, you know, kind of a community vibe. It's and if that's gone from the Mission, then I don't know how these sort of neighborhoody bars are even supposed to survive, because there's no neighborhoody anymore.
Yeah, there's no there.
Up next.
Yeah. Well,
we're going to stay in the Mission.
There. Yeah.
And this is part of the changing face of the Mission, right? Is that the part of the cool thing about the Mission was after you left the bar, there were street vendors. You go get a bacon wrapped hot dog with some, you know, some peppers and some onions that you probably shouldn't eat before you go home and go to bed. But, you know, you got to have it. You got to have that fucking hot dog. Little taco cart. You get some carne asada. Maybe they even didn't run out of cheese yet. You can get some cheese on your taco. But now they're trying to run that shit out of the Mission too. And that's got to be bad for the neighborhoody divey bars again, because it's the atmosphere that people would go to that bar for, even though it's not in the bar. It's like the atmosphere of the Mission at night. So let's see what's going on here, man. I feel so bad for these fucking people. The bar owners is too, but like these people especially, it's like, come on, give me a bacon wrapped hot dog and let me give this person a $5 tip for it because I'm drunk and feeling generous. And as you can tell, this show is live. It takes a minute for things to go.
Silent protests. Now some vendors in San Francisco are taking complaints about a vending ban right to City Hall. They've been trying to get that new ban delayed after the holidays. NBC Barry's Sergio Quintana has details on their latest strategy.
Several members of the city's Street Vendors Association marched from Mission Street to City Hall today. They agree Mission Street has become violent and even deadly because of illicit sales by illegal vendors. But the members of this group, made up of vendors who have legal permits from the city to operate, say they are not the problem.
It's kind of hard to say. It's real complicated. because the city make us look like criminals. We are not criminals. We are families.
At prior protests and demonstrations, they've gone after Mission District Supervisor Hillary Ronen. Today, they're trying to get the attention of Mayor London Breed. Organizers say a complete ban on vending is a result of little to no coordination with the people who would be directly affected.
They put this, top-down policy where it's 90-day ban, right? And they didn't think about all the actual implications and damage that would be done as a result of it. Otherwise, they would have prepared ahead of time.
In an effort to get their issues heard, the Mission Street vendors took their demonstration into City Hall. They took their list of concerns to Supervisor Hillary Ronen's office. No one was there, so they dropped their list into the mail slot. At the mayor's office, they presented their list of concerns to a front office attendant who quietly received their list, then went back to his desk. The vendors had hoped for more of a response from the mayor's office. How did it go?
Well, it was kind of sad, but at least we expressed ourselves and we raised our voices.
Rodrigo Lopez says the Mission Street vending ban has been devastating for him. He moved to a spot off of Mission Street, but his customers don't know where to find him, so his sales have plummeted. Mayor London Breed says her office just met this week with Supervisor Ronen's office to try and figure out some remedies for the vendors.
We don't want them to be penalized financially because of all the other stuff that's going on.
According to the mayor's office, they've recently modified qualifications for a $1,000 grant, which now makes most permitted vendors eligible. The 90-day ban on street vending was imposed as an emergency because of illegal sales of often stolen items, and last month a vendor was killed by another vendor. In San Francisco, Sergio Quintana, NBC, Bay Area News.
Oh shit, $1,000 for 3 months. They're in the money.
Right at the end there, your bacon wrapped hot dog. They dropped it in there at the final moment.
Yeah, what do you mean $1,000 grant for 90 days? What the fuck? That's like $11 a day.
Yeah, I mean, then God knows how much they're going to have to actually go around to folks. It's just more bullshit, really. It's like what's pushing them off one street, so they set up on another street. But yeah, they not going to be found in that other street. But just pushing them aside, sweeping them under the rug, blaming illegal sale. Oh my God, illegal vendor sales. Geez, geez Louise, I'm shocked. Blaming whatever, like a vendor on vendor violence. Welcome to the city. It's just an excuse. Another excuse from Mayor Breed and her administration to clean up the city.
Whatever the fuck that means.
Right, exactly. But it usually and typically seems to impact, Black and brown people and small business owners and the little person. So, just more of the same, I guess. Well,
let's go across the bay to Oakland.
Yeah, so this is a story we covered last week. We're looking ahead to a potential teach-in by Oakland teachers who wanted to give a little more of a well-rounded approach and well-rounded lesson on what's going on in Gaza right now. So we're going to find out what the Oakland Teachers Union thought of it and what actually happened.
Understand that some teachers and parents are responding to plans for a group of OUSD teachers to incorporate pro-Palestine lessons into their classroom work today. It's being called a Gaza to Oakland teach-in. Happening now are Ali Rasmus live at Lincoln Elementary to explain the pushback this is getting from many families, teachers, and also the school's superintendent.
Yeah, the school superintendent and the district as a whole has been quick to point out this is not a sanctioned event and this is not approved curriculum that's supposed to be presented today. Meanwhile, the Oakland Teachers Union says its union leadership, its union reps voted overwhelmingly by about 60% to host this teach-in. They're calling it Gaza to Oakland, and the union says that the goal here and the idea is to present, in their view, more and a variety and different sources of information on the Palestinian conflict and the conflict in the Middle East.
This teaching about Palestine is education, labor power, solidarity, and resistance, all meshed into one action.
That's part of the materials and video for this teach-in that is shared on social media. Some OUSD families have come out in support of it. Others, though, aren't happy about it. They say the concept behind a pro-Palestine teach-in is inherently one-sided. They're worried specifically about images, phrases, and wording used in the teaching materials. They believe some of the content is inaccurate or even inflammatory. One of the teachers who helped organize this Gaza to Oakland teach-in says there is no set curriculum and that it is up to teachers to decide whether and how to participate. You'll hear from her, followed by another OUSD teacher who's concerned about the materials, and an OUSD parent we spoke to with their response. Take a listen.
We can't force anyone to teach it a certain way. This is not, in education, there have been times where curriculum has been used in a lockstep. There has been scripted curriculum. This is not scripted curriculum. This is a developing curriculum. Everybody participated. We took it from many sources.
My biggest concern is that we're raising a generation of anti-Semites.
I think that it's a good idea to teach all sorts of different perspectives, all sorts of different ideas.
This guy.
I think that some of the material that was in the stuff that was posted online is controversial, at least, probably some of it's in bad taste.
Now, in a statement from OUSD Superintendent, she criticized the teach-in. She said, quote, "I'm deeply disappointed by the harmful and divisive materials being circulated and promoted as factual." The Oakland Teachers Union says some of its members have been put on notice by the district not to participate in this. It's not clear what kind of disciplinary action they could face if they do, but the union says it's in their contract with the district that their members have a First Amendment right to speak about current events to their students. Now, if you would like to see some of the materials that are supposed to be included in this teach-in today, we've posted it on our website, ktvu.com. Live in Oakland, Ali Rasmus, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
So here again, we've long suffered with this problem talking about this issue, is that any discussion about the nation state of Israel and its actions as it pertains to the Palestinian territories are oftentimes, it's accused of being anti-Semitic, even though the nation state of Israel is a nation state and not a religion. And we have people who maybe don't understand the difference, the difference between the two things, talking about how this is such a bad thing.
Yeah, and it's just it's something where I have been hesitant to really get into it much in this space, just because there's really no, there's no win. It's winners and losers, right? In the conversation, no matter what you say, you seem to be offending someone or another. But yeah, the notion that if you're you're upset with, or you're criticizing the nation state, like you said, of Israel and their policies, and that's somehow conflated to being anti-Semitic or being anti-Jew, or hating Jews, there are two different things. However, it's just not how folks see it, right? That's not how many Jews see it, and it's not their perception. That's funny, because that's not the people who complain about it most are generally Christian people, like right-wing Christian people. A lot of the leading voices in a lot of these protest movements are in fact Jewish people. So it's more complicated, but this would be like suggesting that criticizing America is anti-Christian, right? Because America bills itself as a Christian country or whatever. Sure. Well, I don't bill ourselves as that, which in some ways we try and bend over backwards to try not to blend the two, but when it comes down to it, they're blended, and it's innately tied. This country is innately tied to Judeo-Christian values. Yeah, it's simply a matter of perspective and where you're coming from on the issue, and but yeah, I would tend to agree. It's two different things. you can absolutely criticize the state without impugning an entire religion, and be sensitive to it as well. But also recognize that our Judeo-Christian state of the United States and Britain were fundamental in establishing the nation state of Israel. And there's a lot of questions that can be had about, how that was done and why it was done, and how effective it's been in actually, preserving culture and protecting peace. I don't know that it has been.
Just myself personally, I'm pretty careful when I do talk about this stuff because it does come up in the context of our other shows, and I'm pretty clear talking about the Benjamin Netanyahu's Likud party and the governing coalition running the government there. And I think that I hope that the curriculum as it is careful in that same way. That's what I hope.
One would hope, but again, that now they're saying that there really wasn't a set curriculum, which is a little disturbing. That teachers were just let to kind of do what they want, or maybe choose from a menu of options. So that's a little disturbing. Last week, the story seemed to indicate that the curriculum was approved and vetted, and fit the whatever Common Core and other curriculums that the kids are supposed to be getting. We'll learn more. But for now, the union is defending their teachers, and kids are hopefully getting a broader perspective.
Hopefully. And we'll see how this shakes out. We'll see how this shakes out. It's unfortunate, I think, that people are frustrated with the federal government, and so they're looking to local government and their local community for redress of their grievances in this case. And local community has some ability to educate and have discussions about these things, but they don't have any ability to redress anybody's grievances as far as the U.S. foreign policy on this. And I think people are frustrated, as well they should be, I think.
Yeah. You're also dealing with issues that are thousands of millennia in the making. So there's only so much that can be done in the near term. This is obviously something that's going to go on for many, many years.
Yep. Okay. Well, we've got one more in winners and losers. People are debating about a seating area at Berkeley BART Plaza. I have no idea. What this is about. This is going to be stupid. I guarantee it, though.
100%. Just run it.
Now to a debate between public access and the need for safety. A new patio is now open at the Berkeley BART Plaza, but the seating is only for customers of nearby businesses. As Max Darrow shows us, critics worry this is only a tactic to keep away the homeless.
Simone Arpaio is gearing up for another day of gelato sales. He's the co-owner of El Mare Gelato, located on Shattuck at the downtown Berkeley BART Plaza. He likes the location, but says operating here isn't always sweet.
It's always been an area somehow affected by crime, and maybe because of proximity with BART.
As he readies up some wholesale orders before opening up shop for the day, he's glad to see this happening outside. Ambassadors from the Downtown Berkeley Association setting up the new pop-up plaza patio seating area. It's a shared space reserved only for customers of the 5 merchants at the plaza.
I don't see who can disagree with giving a safe area to people, honestly. It's not that we're taking anything away from anybody. The plaza is free, Berkeley is free. We're just trying to add a layer of safety for people.
So the idea is to welcome more people.
John Kaner is the CEO of the DBA and says they wanted to create a safe space for customers, as local business owners said some customers were being bothered and harassed at the plaza.
Occasional disturbances, but also just people not feeling comfortable necessarily staying in the plaza. What we wanted to do was create a clean and welcoming space under outdoor commerce sidewalk permit.
He says the DBA spent around $1,500 to create the seating corral, which goes up in the mornings and down in the evenings.
We didn't take away any seating for the general public. We added seating.
But there are folks who call this a privatization of public space.
It is absolutely an issue for me.
Like Paul Kealoha Blake, who runs the organization Consider the Homeless.
We're an advocacy and food supplier to the unsheltered.
He sees this as a way to try to push homeless people out of the public plaza.
Privatizes a public space, which makes it harder for organizations like ours to connect with people. We really need connection rather than disconnection and polarization of people.
Arpaio says,
We don't have anything against homeless people, but criminals, no. It doesn't have anything to do with our take on homelessness, our take on social issues. We are unsafe. We feel unsafe. We are attacked. This is a tool to maybe feel a little safer.
Arpaio hopes it helps out. Blake doesn't think it addresses the root problem. It's a pilot program for now. Time will tell how it works out.
And despite the signage, merchants say everyone is welcome and people are only being asked to leave if they are causing problems.
So I'm confused now. Is this city of Berkeley owned, or is this a plaza where the landlord for these businesses owns the plaza and it happens to be in front of the BART station?
Unknown at this point. If it's the DBA that's doing this, then that's not a city entity. That's a business association. So it could be the private businesses doing it, but I don't know who owns the plaza and the land in that plaza, that specific space. It could be city space. I could totally see it being a public space of some sort of co-owned BART/city space. But you still need regardless, you still need a permit to do something like this. And to have seating on the sidewalk like that in any kind of public plaza, public space. It's regulated. So, yeah, but I don't know who owns it. I would imagine it might just be privately owned, but they still have to have permits to do all that.
So if it's private land in front of the BART station, then they can do kind of whatever they want as long as it's not doesn't violate local ordinances.
Yeah,
and people in chat were kind of joking that it's like the velvet rope, right? It's like it's not really, they're not really protecting anyone from anything with with these little canvas strips of fabric. They're not.
No, not at all. And if anything, you're just sort of exacerbating the problem or exemplifying the problem. I don't know. But it could be that they're privately owned, but it's publicly accessible, right? That's part of the covenant or part of the entitlement for building the or renovating or remodeling the building itself, right? Whatever went up there, the development. When it was created, it could have been a shared agreement with the city where it has to be publicly accessible space, which comes with its own permutations and guidelines and regulations, not just private space. So more than likely that's what happened. It's like a hybrid.
This seems stupid.
Yes. Well, the concept and I totally understand the controversy, but it's just a silly concept in the first place. Just figure it out. Put some seats if you want some. You want some seating for your customers. Put some seats out. Get a permit. Put some seating out in front of your establishment. I've been there. I've been to that Ike's before. There's plenty of space there for folks who want to. If the businesses want to have their own little space. This is just, the downtown association being just too heavy-handed and overreacting probably to, one or two people, as usual.
I might have gotten off of BART at that station 5,000 times.
Yeah, a million times, right?
I mean, I may be slightly over, but, there's a place where I supposedly learned things not too far away from that fucking place. And so that plaza, you just get off a BART and you walk through it. I don't understand why you need seats right in the middle of it. What happens when it's really busy?
Yeah, it seems a little bit in the way too. You're right. It's just fake. It looks like a little I don't know, like one of those bank cafes.
It's and it's just really, really kind of like velvet ropey, right? Remember when the velvet rope used to be this idea you'd go to, Studio 54 and there'd be the velvet rope. Well, now the velvet rope is at the fucking bank, right? And so it's everywhere you go, there's a fucking velvet rope. This is very much that phenomena. I don't even know, do they have a person there checking? Like, I
don't think so. It sounds
confused.
Well, it sounds like complaint driven anyway. Like, you can sit there as long as you're not causing trouble. So it doesn't look like they really have anyone actively, monitoring it. There's no like maitre d' there. Like, excuse me, sir, can I see your gelato receipt?
Is someone there going to validate your fucking parking? Like, what's going on?
Right. Or your BART ticket. Oh wait, there's no more tickets anymore. It's only Clipper card. Yeah. So silly season. And
that area isn't actually lacking for a place to sit the fuck down if you want to sit down. That's the weird part about this, is that there's plenty of places to sit down in that area. Maybe not right in front of the business, but there's like benches everywhere.
Well, yeah. As the guy said, they're not removing. The DBA guy said they're not removing any public seating. So there's plenty. There's plenty of space. This is just to make some people feel a little less squishy.
A little less squishy. Okay. Well, whatever. It's hella dumb. Hella not very Berkeley of them.
Oh, come on. It's entirely Berkeley now.
I guess so.
Modern Berkeley.
Some of the shit we got away with in that town. My God.
Well, speaking of shit, who's got to get their shit together?
San Francisco Police Department, it seems, or San Jose Police Department.
Yeah, let's find out more.
Let's check out which way in which they're going to get their whatever. That was the worst sentence I've ever said on the air. Let's see what's going on here.
LaMonica's going to save it. Don't worry.
New at 10 tonight, the San Jose Police Department announced a new strategic plan today that it says will build a stronger relationship with the community and more transparency. The 5-step plan also emphasizes more accountability from the department. KTVU South Bay reporter LaMonica Peters live now at San Jose Police Headquarters with the details. LaMonica.
Julie, I asked the San Jose Police Department why they decided to roll this plan out now, and they said it's because it's critical to maintaining the public's trust. There have recently been a few incidents that have caused the police department and the community to be at odds, and they believe that this new strategy will forge a new path for everyone involved.
When we strive to provide exceptional service and invest the time to develop community partnerships, the community will have the highest level of trust in our department.
Little kid looks up and is like, "Fuck you, pig."
The police department says it's making a stronger, renewed commitment to serving the community. The president of San Jose Silicon Valley NAACP says he's recently had more positive conversations with the department and is hopeful the new plan will produce results.
This is the first step, but there's so much that we need to improve on. So let's give credit where credit is due.
San Jose Police's strategic plan consists of 5 steps: promote public safety, partner with a diverse community, create a more diverse workforce, improve service delivery, and secure more staffing resources. Reverend Moore says Chief Anthony Mata has also assured him that police will be held accountable in San Jose.
Whenever there's a hateful incident where the cops are acting up, and Tony's assured me, and he can prove that they've done wrong and know that they've done wrong, he's going to fire them.
San Jose Police released a statement regarding its new strategy, saying in part, "This proactive approach not only enhances public confidence in law enforcement, but also establishes a foundation of mutual respect, understanding, and shared responsibility."
All I can do is be hopeful, and think positive with that, and ask the community to continue to try to work and continue to report the issues that come up.
Reverend Moore also acknowledged that a San Jose police officer recently resigned after he was exposed for sending racist text messages. He says he's looking forward to more of that type of transparency and for the department holding itself accountable. Julie?
LaMonica Peters live tonight in San Jose. Thanks, LaMonica.
That image they showed, like somebody in chat said, looked really kind of workshopped, right? Like you'd see that at like a meeting that you have to go to at work that HR is putting on. They're like, here are the 5 steps for a better workplace.
Yeah, absolutely. So Chief Mata just trying to sell it, do a little tap dance. Got to meet him the other night. Very, very interesting cat, but very much a politician. And LaMonica Peters digging deep with the fantastic combination of purple jacket and eyeshadow. Very nice.
Somebody in chat did ask about the Antioch police, and no news this week about them, but they're probably they're in the midst of a of a crisis in their department there as well. So
yeah,
we're keeping an eye on the Antioch Police Department for sure.
Yeah, it's just a lull in the news for sure. I'm sure there's nothing wrong there. I mean, there's everything wrong there actually, but I'm sure there's going to be no shortage of additional stories as indictments and legal proceedings continue to flow out of Antioch. But good on San Jose for taking steps. But again, it's all lip service and paperwork until we actually see the results in the community. And yeah, I wanted the audio of that little girl like, who the fuck pinning some shit on me? Get away.
She's all, am I being detained? Am I free to go?
Yeah. I know my rights, motherfucker.
My mom told me.
Well, I think we're doing a double whammy this week on getting your shit together.
Looks like it.
But it looks like the DA in San Francisco, Brooke Jenkins, who was appointed to replace Chesa Boudin, is getting after it herself and trying to cut down on them crimes. So we're going to get a little update on her.
In addition to the economy, there are also serious concerns about public safety and the fentanyl crisis.
ABC 7 News reporter Leanne Melendez sat down with the district attorney, Brooke Jenkins, to talk about the work that needs to be done. And Leanne joins us now.
Yeah, there was a lot to talk about. You know, Larry, ABC 7 News has committed to following up on the issues that affect the Bay Area. We spoke to Jenkins on Monday during our town hall, but we felt there was more we needed to know about public safety and the drug crisis.
It's been 17 months since Brooke Jenkins was appointed San Francisco's top prosecutor, replacing progressive reformer Chesa Boudin. At the top of her agenda was doing away with the open-air drug market and holding drug dealers accountable for their crimes. How's it going for you so far? What grade would you give yourself?
At this point, I would give myself an A for effort. I don't want to make it seem as though we have completed the task, but we now have more law enforcement partners at the table assisting with addressing this issue than this city has ever had.
This is more about human nature and human behavior than it is about our city.
In fact, it's quite common to see both the police chief and Jenkins at events addressing public safety. On Thursday night, they came together for another town hall in the Bayview neighborhood. This year, Jenkins has filed 798 drug dealing cases, more than Boudin ever did in a single year. But that's also because police have made more arrests. Still, Jenkins faces the same issue that Boudin did when trying to convict drug dealers. Even motions to detain dealers are rarely granted.
Now, where is the problem there? Who is the problem?
The judges who are hearing these motions are the problem. We are articulating a public safety reasoning behind asking that these drug dealers be kept in custody. We're explaining that many of them have been arrested not once, not twice, even 3 times for dealing fentanyl in our city, and these judges are not taking it seriously.
Criminalizing drug use during the crack cocaine epidemic of the 80s put more low-level offenders in prison, which then took a toll on the justice system. Jenkins says she steers away from that level of prosecution. She insists fentanyl is too deadly to ignore.
The public safety risk that they pose is nothing like drug dealers of the past. We are talking, we have 2 to 3 deaths from overdose every day in our city from fentanyl.
Jenkins says her office tries to off-ramp as many drug users into treatment programs.
Yes, this criminal justice system has to be a tool for intervention with our drug addiction community right now, given we're trying to save their lives.
With regard to public safety, Jenkins makes no apologies for taking a different approach when charging the people involved in organized retail theft rings.
How are they being prosecuted today versus, let's say, 2 years ago?
We are going to be asking that offenders who are committing organized retail theft as a crew be held in custody while those cases are open, as we believe they pose a significant public safety risk to shoppers, to workers in these stores. And we also have to make sure that on the back end we have appropriate consequences.
That brings us to Proposition 47, making some property crimes a misdemeanor if the value doesn't exceed $950.
Prop 47 was a ballot measure that was passed by voters across the state. And so we didn't necessarily understand what the long-term impacts would be. And so now we're discussing how we might have to repeal portions of that, but as voters.
While voters may be considering tweaking Proposition 47 or not, Jenkins believes the California legislature can do more to introduce bills to toughen up certain laws when it comes to fencing operations, and especially the fentanyl crisis. And just off the top of my head, AB 367, it was meant to add sentencing enhancements for those who seriously injure or kill through fentanyl. That was rejected. Now, I started reporting in the late 80s, and I remember, just how people would phrase certain things. Like, for instance, before it used to be tough on crime. And now you see a lot of these politicians in big urban cities who say, let's take a more balanced approach. And I think they're more closer to that, reform they all talk about.
I don't get that at all for Brooke Jenkins. I think she's definitely a tough on crimes kind of a DA, and she's certainly built herself that way, and that's what she's banking on.
So the nomenclature has changed from tough on crime to interest in public safety. That's how the language has changed. Not we're taking the balanced approach. That's not, nobody says that. They say we're interested in public safety, which is some tough on crime shit. This number going up on a misdemeanor, I think before it was something like 600 or 750 to 900. Motherfucker, that's just keeping up with inflation. I know it's
absolutely.
I know it's kind of crass and hyper capitalist of me to say that, but I mean, all we're doing is keeping up with inflation here, friendo. Same item or group of items.
Oh.
And also, like, when it's like organized, there are enhancements. There are organized crime enhancements, some kind of racketeering like enhancements. Charges are different for the people at the top of these organizations. Again, racketeering like, I don't know what the actual charges are, but there are different charges for engaging in like organized crime. Essentially, there are. We had a whole they're like movies about that. It's a whole part of our culture.
Yeah, it's called RICO, and I forget what the fuck it stands for, to be honest with you.
Racketeering and influence corrupt organization.
Hey, there you go.
But I don't know if that's
exactly
I don't know if that's the same, if it's in California or whatever, but they are similar laws, for organized crime.
I think that's a federal statute, so it would apply here if state prosecutors chose to apply it.
But I mean, there are also laws that are similar, like state laws that have similar attributes.
Yes, absolutely.
As the former president is finding out in the great state of Georgia.
Yeah, there's always more. There's always the states are free to develop their own laws that are more stringent or more permissive than the federal laws, and it really depends on the federal law itself and the jurisdiction and the governing body, the law enforcement body that's protecting it, right, or upholding those laws, right, whether or not whether the states get slapped down for it. So there's a lot of freedom for the states to do all sorts of things, and lots of freedom for Brooke Jenkins to implement the law as she sees fit in San Francisco as well.
So let's move on to Down Ballot Watch, where there's just a couple stories. If people don't know the different segments, Down Ballot Watch is stuff that is, I think we would say, like, more centered around voting and elections and direct stuff about city and county governance versus the rest of the docket, where maybe it's not so focused on elected officials. Yeah, the Down Ballot Watch is focused on elected officials, I'd say, is a good way to describe that particular category on the show.
And there's not always a loser, maybe,
right?
But there's not usually a winner either.
Not usually.
It's sort of like
the whole show could just be called Bay Area Winners and Losers, as far as I'm concerned.
We are then, after all, the 9th best local news podcast in all of California.
So, 2 more candidates have entered the race for outgoing Representative Eshu's seat in District 16. Let's see who they are and see if we recognize either of them.
One of them is LaMonica Peters.
Candidates have announced that they are running for Congress to replace District 16's Anna Eshu, who is stepping down. There are now 9 people vying to fill that seat. KTVU South Bay reporter LaMonica Peters live in San Jose, and has more from
LaMonica. You need to announce now. You would walk away with it.
And it's about why
look at that
to run here, LaMonica.
Fabulous.
Mike, one of the latest candidates is currently a Palo Alto City Council member, and the other is a tech entrepreneur who has worked in the federal government. They both say that Silicon Valley is a special place with unique issues, and they'd like an opportunity to address them.
And I saw a lot of men throw their hat in the ring. And I looked left and I looked right and I said, where are the women?
Julie Lithcott-Hames says representation matters to her, and she's now the first woman to announce her candidacy for California's District 16 seat. She's a current Palo Alto City Council member, a former Stanford dean, and a Harvard Law School graduate. Now she says she's ready to tackle issues like housing affordability in the region.
Our prosperity has left so many people behind. For example, I've got 2 kids who are 24 and 22. They have done everything right, studied hard, they're good kids. They get jobs. They cannot afford a 1-bedroom apartment remotely near where they grew up.
Born and raised in Silicon Valley, Peter Dixon also announced Thursday he's running for the seat. The former Marine says he used his military expertise to later work for the State Department during Obama's administration. He also
he a spy. I ain't voting for him.
Founded a cybersecurity firm.
For things
he a spy.
Or education, my big goal here is to go to DC and continue to be able to drive resources back to the local community here that it's coming from.
Dixon says as a father of 3, he's also concerned about the country he fought to protect and what his children may have
you ain't got that house on a government salary if you ain't a spy.
Face in the future.
And so the world that our kids inherit is not getting decided in the next 10 to 20 years. It is getting decided in the next 2 to 5.
Austin?
And each of us need to figure out what we can do to make sure that it's the same world that our founders created when they built this country.
SU's term ends in January of 2025, and we'll find out which 2 candidates will be in a runoff next year in March. Mike?
Campaign season is here. All right, LaMonica Peters live tonight in San Jose. Thank you for that, LaMonica.
The first lady seemed like a competent public service. The second person seemed like they were one of the bad guys on Burn Notice.
Yeah. Like an extra. I don't know, or maybe an understudy. I don't know much about Mr. Dixon, obviously, but it looks like a Marine version of Austin Bennett, maybe.
Oh, yeah. Austin Bennett without, whatever, or maybe the same set of problems, just more money.
Right. And yes, your read is correct on Julie Lithcott-Hames, very strong public servant, currently on the Palo Alto City Council, and making her move and seeing an opportunity. She's right. There are a whole lot of dudes running, and women at the end of the day make up more than half the electorate. So there you go. That being said, women don't always vote for women. She is also a black woman, so she's fighting racism as well as sexism. So
especially around here, where they're like demographically, like versus the rest of the United States in this district, black folks are underrepresented in the population pretty dramatically.
Very much so. This district is heavily Caucasian, heavily Asian American, not so much Latino, and definitely not so much African American. But again, she was elected in Palo Alto, and that's at large. So there's something to be said about that citywide. So, again, we'll see what happens. And again, being the only woman on the ballot it's a distinction when there's a bunch of Wangs running, basically. When I say Wangs, I don't mean the surname. But there's a lot to be said for anything you can do to distinguish yourself in a race like this, right? In a short race where name ID and recognition is the most important thing, is important. And so she automatically has an opportunity to distinguish herself in multiple ways.
So my take on this is that I think this is Evan Lowe's to lose, actually. I think Evan Lowe, even with Sam Liccardo having like a lot of name recognition, I think this is Evan Lowe's to lose. So we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the polling will come out and we'll see Sam ahead. But I think this is Evan Lowe's race to lose.
It's all about how much money he can raise, how quickly he can, or they can all organize a campaign. Because again, the ballots go out like the first week of February. So And this is a huge district we're talking about. So
I don't see endorsements mattering that much. Although if Mayor Ed 209 endorses anybody, it's probably going to be the bad guy from season 3 of Burn Notice, right?
Yeah, I don't get that. I don't get that he would endorse Liccardo, honestly. Even though I think Liccardo endorsed him, simply because Mahan just spent his entire campaign talking about how, the city was being run into the ground, and that was on Liccardo's watch. Yeah, we'll see what happens here. I think that the white dude from Palo Alto, I would never bet against, right? Joe Simitian, and he's got many dollars in the bank already. So that's going to be the name of this game, is being able to just. And
my take is like his opponents could just disappear, end up in Gitmo.
It's entirely possible. Entirely possible.
God, imagine Sam Liccardo in like a prison for running for office because he ran against a spy. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm like.
Oh, Dixon. You're talking about Dixon. Yeah. Sorry, I was talking about Simitian.
No, I'm talking about Dixon. I think he's a spy.
Oh, well, didn't they say he was a spy?
Well, not in so many words.
Between the lines.
Not in so many words. Anyway, up next, speaking of Mayor Ed 209, this actually, I'm going to probably be pretty pleased with what's going on here. It looks like Mayor Ed 209 is trying to protect some people from evictions. So let's see what's going on here.
Now push to make it easier to make it in the South Bay. San Jose leaders have a new proposal they hope will protect hundreds of people living in mobile home parks, protect them from eviction. As NBC Bay Area's Ian Cole explains, the issue is that they own their homes, but they don't own the land they sit on.
It's very important. Martha O'Connell has lived in her mobile home for nearly 2 decades. She owns the home but does not own the land that it's on, and that means there has been a constant fear of the future if the land is ever sold. Mobile homes are the last bastion of affordable housing in the state of California. San Jose has 58 mobile home parks, the most of any city in the state. Now the San Jose City Council could vote tomorrow to add another layer of protection for them. The new proposal would add a new land use designation that would make it more difficult to redevelop mobile home parks. It's an issue O'Connell has worked on for 7 years. I am delighted that the end is coming.
This actually calls out in a very clear way that the intention of the city is for these sites to be used as mobile home parks. And so it makes clear what the land use designation is today, making it that much harder for it to change in the future.
That protection will first include 13 of the 58 mobile home parks. The rest will be voted on in the coming months, and the mayor has included it as part of his budget.
We've got to protect these vulnerable residents who tend to be working families, seniors, and we've got to make sure that they're protected from displacement.
People in San Jose may remember the fight over a mobile home park next to Santana Row. A developer wanted to turn it into luxury condos, and after years of back and forth, many of the residents signed agreements as long as they could move into one of those new homes. While there's no projects in the works to tear down another San Jose mobile home park, the residents say this next step would certainly help them. This level of protection is going to let mobile home residents sleep just a little better at night. In San Jose, Ian Cole, NBC Bay Area News.
Those little communities are adorable too. Like,
my auntie lives in one.
So it is weird, right? Because you own this house, and if you get evicted from the property, then what do you do with your house?
Yeah, they're mobile in name only as well too. Like it actually takes and costs a shit ton of money to move these things around, and to move them from one place to another, even to another mobile home, lot. And there aren't a whole lot of spaces open out there, even though there's tons of mobile home communities, but it's just because they're filled up. I also want to take a moment to shout out Martha O'Connell. Martha, you're the best. She has been working on this issue for many, many years. You know who has been working on this issue for many, many years? Mayor fucking Ed 209, who gets top billing on the headline on this story for some reason on the news and gets the quote, because it's happening, like the policy that's been worked on and hammered out over the past 7 years is coming to fruition on his watch. So he's taking the victory lap, even though he had very little to do with it. It began before he was even on the city council, and it's something that's going to outlast him too. And there's going to be more modifications too, even after he's gone. So, but he's taking the victory lap and claiming credit for it, even though it's something that councils for the past many, many years have worked on, and council members who have long since left the council, were more instrumental in getting this together than Mayor Ed 209. So I just want to point that out, a little revisionist history there.
So this is a situation where I think like co-ops would actually be a really good solution, where the residents are. I don't know how it would work. I think the state government would have to step in and kind of backstop some of it, at least in the short to medium term. Having this be a co-op would be fantastic.
It would create more stability for the residents, for sure. What they're getting as far as the layers of protection are actually pretty strong, right? So at least, at the very least, what they have is protected, and their space is protected, and the situation they're in is protected. And then the agreement that the folks at the Winchester Ranch, which is now a fancy new development, you can all see it from 280 at Winchester anytime you want, across from Santana Row. The residents there got a fantastic deal. Either they could move into one of those fancy new places and have the same rent that they were paying on their mobile home spot in perpetuity, or they would get substantial benefits to relocate and to pay for moving their mobile home to another facility. So they ended up coming out pretty well, and I'm hoping a lot of them did take them up on the offer, because nice swanky new condo is probably a little better than your double wide, and at the same rate per month. I think you'd take that.
I don't know, losing like a freestanding home where you don't share walls with like somebody else, though, is kind of big. Like if you like to entertain, for example,
Yeah, no, they had both. The development actually, it was built in phases. So there's one main building that's mostly apartment style condos, right? And then there's squatter buildings behind it that are separated, divided, multi-story in some cases, condos, or condos. They're still condos, but they're not apartments, right? And those were the ones that the folks from the mobile home community were anticipated to move into, because those would get done first, right? So they could move into those, and then their space would be cleared to become rest of the development, that kind of thing.
Well, okay.
Yay! Sorry, little lane use for yourself on a Tuesday night.
So we're going to move over to Palo Alto. It looks like there's some safe parking program at churches that looks like they may make permanent. Let's see what's going on here.
Yeah, good on Palo Alto.
Our mission of building a better Bay Area means finding and highlighting places of progress. And tonight, we're celebrating one of those breakthroughs. The city of Palo Alto is moving forward with a plan to connect people living out of their cars to housing. Tonight, ABC 7 News South Bay reporter Lauren Martinez is live with the details regarding the city's safe parking program. Lauren.
Well, the city has piloted the program for the last 3 years. The vice mayor said this was an easy and obvious decision in order to provide a variety of services to those who were unhoused.
The city of Palo Alto is expanding their safe parking program at churches in order to combat homelessness.
I will enthusiastically support this motion.
On Monday, City Council voted to permanently establish the congregation-based safe parking program. Now, more spaces will be available for people to park. The city currently has 4 churches where people in passenger vehicles can park overnight with access to restrooms and connections to social service programs. The city said this year, 34 individuals were connected to housing from these sites.
So housing might be finding an affordable housing unit. It might be connecting with friends or relatives who provide housing. But again, returning to housing that is meant and designed for human habitation.
In January of this year, the city took a point-in-time count of the number of individuals unhoused in Palo Alto. 206 individuals were unhoused. 181 of those were sleeping in vehicles, nearly 88%.
I have met with members of our RV dweller community who have told me they weren't counted. And I've heard that enough times from different people that it feels clear to me that there's an undercount
With the expansion, the city directed staff to gather clearer data on the population of those who are unhoused in the city. The vote to expand passed 6-1. Councilmember Greg Tanaka was the only no vote.
And I think part of the issue is that it's kind of lightly used because unlike other cities like Santa Barbara or like Mountain View, where they also have parking enforcement, we only have the safe parking. So there's not much of incentive for people to park in these safe parking spots.
Even though the data said the safe parking sites are not at capacity and not in demand, majority of council felt anyone connected to housing from the program is a win.
13 is not 0. It's not 12. It's not 11. Each one that we can help to a positive outcome is worth the effort.
The city is also increasing the space at the public safe parking site for RVs located off Gang Road. As far as the next steps, two full-time caseworkers will be helping out with data collection. From our South Bay Bureau, Lauren Martinez, ABC 7 News.
Palo Alto leads the way.
Yeah, like good on Palo Alto. Who knew? But and good on the faith-based community for stepping up. That's something that's going on in San Jose as well. So good on them. And like the man said, 1 is better than none, and 13 is better than 12.
And I like the one guy who was like, "Well, we don't have any enforcement for the people that choose to sleep in their car, not in these places." It's like, you know what? Fuck you.
Yeah, we could just turn it off. Just turn it off. But it's also good to have a safe space, no matter if it's legal or not. Frankly, and a place where you feel safe and you can go to the bathroom. That's always nice. And a house of worship should be one of the safest places you can be. Not always, but should be.
At least if you're an adult.
Yes, exactly.
Anyway, we're going to move on to and other things. We got 2 here. We'll probably go through these pretty quick. We're a little longer than usual, but no big deal now. We're not trying to like have a band set up like we used to. I don't know if that was the worst, man. We were like absolutely up against it because like people would be coming in like, oh God, what a fucking nightmare that was. Anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. Looks like a longtime San Jose community leader, Frank Fiscalini, yeah. Who lived to 101.
Yeah, I just wanted to celebrate him really quickly and give him a shout out. Former city council member, vice mayor, mayoral candidate, and Eastside Union High School District superintendent. They'll probably go through his whole bio, but shout out to this guy because he was one of those olds that did it right.
Well, some sad news to pass along tonight coming out of the South Bay. Longtime community leader Frank Fiscalini has died at the age of 101. He was a school superintendent in San Jose and in 1990 lost one of the closest mayoral races in city history by just about 2,000 votes. He then ran for city council in 1992 and was elected, serving 2 terms. Fiscalini also was a founding board member of Opera San Jose and was a supporter of numerous arts and education programs throughout the city.
Sounds like a public servant.
Yeah, absolutely. Good on him. I've got to meet him many times and converse with him and share stories. He was a contemporary of my grandfather even. But 101, good on him. Shit, if I only wish. And he was pretty spry at 101 too, from what I hear. So he had a clean bill of health, I guess, the night before even. But sometimes just your time.
Well, last week we did not have a vehicle versus structure. This week we have a vehicle versus structure.
Yeah. And vehicles nowhere to be found apparently at the end of this at the end of the day. So
maybe the structure ate the vehicle. We'll find out here.
Right.
Another storefront in San Francisco left in shambles by a brazen smash and grab. And this time, it's a CVS in the outer Richmond. It was forced to close today after thieves smashed their truck right through the entrance and then just made off with an ATM. So our chopper was overhead as repair crews were busy picking up the pieces this afternoon at the store on 32nd Avenue and Clement Street. As Jose Martinez shows us, thieves are still using this tactic, even as police are ramping up their efforts to crack down on retail theft.
Workers were busy today, boarding up this door and cleaning up glass left behind after yet another break-in. This time at a CVS store in the Richmond district.
It's kind of sad and horrible.
Danny has been living in this neighborhood for more than 30 years and tells me things are different now.
Things seem to have changed since the pandemic, so I don't know, it's like I haven't been traveling that much. I don't know what other cities are like, but it just seems the people are a little different, people are kind of, I don't know.
SFPD said at least 5 suspects smashed a truck into the front door of the store on 32nd Avenue at around 2:48 a.m. In a statement, CVS said, "We are cooperating with local police as they investigate an incident at our 32nd Avenue store overnight. A truck crashed into the building and the ATM was stolen. The store was closed at the time of the incident and we plan to reopen as soon as the police investigation is complete." Danny says these incidents trigger his anxiety because he himself has been a victim of crimes in the area, forcing him to make drastic decisions.
Yeah, I no longer have a car. I sold it the second time I got my converter stolen. That happened within a year. I think it happened twice.
But just a week ago, SFPD said that retail theft is going down thanks to their so-called Blitz operation.
These are retail theft abatement operations where officers are inside of retail establishments, from Walgreens to some of our bigger retail outlets.
Yet Danny says things are not getting better, so for now, he's gonna keep riding the bus.
Don't know if I'm gonna get another car.
And Danny tells me he wants to see more police officers here in the Richmond district at all times, especially at night.
So we've seen this before at high-end stores in the city as well. In October, thieves rammed their way into the Christian Dior in Union Square right before making off with handbags and other merchandise. 2 suspects were charged in that theft. But the recent efforts by police, including undercover operations, are showing results. In fact, data from the Council on Criminal Justice found retail theft dropped 35% in the first half of the year compared to last year.
Well, I didn't see the car, like I said, so I'm gonna say vehicle won this one if they got away.
Yeah. Also, I like how they say their truck. Nobody uses their, listen, I'm not trying to do this or suggest anyone do this, but if you're going to use a vehicle for this, don't get one that's in your name.
You might want to, steal the car first and then steal from the store. If you're going to be thieving, you might as well thieve it all the way, right?
Not that you should. I mean, this is not only dangerous, but you shouldn't steal shit.
It's not cool. It's definitely not cool. But if you're going to thieve, just go full bore. Just don't go at all. Go big or go home. Well,
me and the councilman's next show, it'll be how to crime.
How to crime with the councilman. I'll be taking your bribes starting at 12:30 a.m. All right.
Well, we had a little bit of rough seas here on the information superhighway, but everything seems to have fixed itself. So, do you mind closing out the show?
Not at all. Not at all. Thanks so much, Producer Dave, as always, for joining me for another episode of Downballot. You can join us here every Tuesday night at 7:30 Pacific, except when you can't. And we want to make sure that you are getting vaxxed, that you're wearing a mask when it's appropriate, but that pants are entirely optional if you want to wear shorty shorts, even in the winter. That's totally cool. We're going to play some Audible Smoke, and Producer Dave's going to turn the lights red. He already has. He's going to run over into the public comment space, and you should definitely stick around for that. I will see you next week. I got to go handle the bad baby. This is the Councilman. Peace out. Have a great week.
Time to get the party started. Pick up my phone just to check and see who's calling. Dress up real nice for the ladies at the bar, and I'm driving in my car just to get to where they are. Here at the local scene is where I plant my feet. It's where I smoke my cigarette and I hold my drink. I look at all my friends, they're all blazing green. Here at the front of the stage, waiting for MTV. Where are those guys who's standing next to me with a pipe in his hand, ready to blaze for me? About 5 minutes later, we're all singing Queen. I get the fuck up on stage and rock the scene. Yeah, we do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. I turn and head back to the bar for a refill, man, because you know where we are. We're headed out to the car to smoke another one and another one. Now just when the magic starts kicking in, I hear relapse playing, you know it's time to head in. Alright everybody, now it's time to grab a new drink, spark it if you got it, and then pass it to me. Yeah, we do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. We do what we want to do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. Last up on the bill for the show tonight is Down and Dirty at 5, so we're headed outside to spark up another joint. Now who's got my lighter? Stoner E, of course, shouldn't you be inside?
I'm all up in this bitch, being who I gotta be. I'm fucked up like the U.S. economy. The truth is that I don't think logically. Stoner E take you on a psychedelic odyssey. Now inside motherfuckers is rockin' me, and outside shit we smoke a lot of broccoli. Rocky the roller, yo, that sexy girl be jockin' me. Ain't too drunk to fuck, but I'll probably do it sloppily.
We do what we want to do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy the band, enjoy the band. We do what we want to do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band.
Molly say that he like jamming, and he hope he like jamming too. Well, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Yes, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Well, Bob Marley said that he like jamming, and he hope he like jamming too. Well, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Yes, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Yeah,
we do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. We do what we want, and what we want to do, what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. We do what we want to do, what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back.